Good morning and Shabbat Shalom to the 12 tribes of Israel scattered abroad and believers in Yeshua Messiah. Good morning to you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this morning. This is Hidden Manna. I am Pastor Dave Satan, Senior Shepherd at Living Manna Church. Thank you for spending your Sabbath morning with us. We are having a conversation today, one I think you'll all be interested in. And let me bring my brother in here. Brother Max, are you there? Let's make sure we got... Hopefully everything is good this time. Hopefully no bugs. If there's audio problems out there, please give me a text or something, or put it in the chat. Good morning to everybody that's on the chat, by the way. Hopefully everything will go good. Hopefully we got all the gremlins out. Yeah, you guys, that's bad. I saw the picture. You guys had a whiteout. It's crazy. It's cold here, but it's not, it's not snowy. It's nice and sunny and bright, but it's just cold. Now, yesterday it was, I don't know, like almost 60 degrees. It was cold. Actually, it was breezy, but even the day before felt like spring. And now all of a sudden it's back down to the teens. So, but, I hear that we cannot hear Max. We cannot hear you, bro. Why can't we hear you? This happened last time, too. Let me just change the screen. And hold up. We'll pop you back. Let's make sure. This time I brought my other iPad just to make sure. And we have our technician is here with us too. Yeah, that's what we were just saying. We don't hear Max. Man, we thought we had all the gremlins pulled out of this one. You want to shut him down, put him back up? Guys, bear with us. We got some more gremlins. We are trying to work it out right now. PM is here.
I need him to keep talking.
Go ahead. Keep talking, brother. Well, at least I can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Brother, now I hear you as an echo. Brother Max is just talking about yesterday's Zoom call. And we had a great Zoom call last night. It was a lot of fun. It was great to see everybody. It really, really was. It's so good to see everybody. Yeah, keep talking, brother.
I think everyone's excited about Tabernacles and
echo.
Yeah, I hear the echo too. Do.
Yeah, Brother Max is continuing to talk. You can continue to talk.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read the comments on here so far. We got can't hear Max.
Everybody's looking at
Good morning, LMC family, blessings. No audio for Max. Shabbat Shalom, fam. Anything? Amy, I got a thumbs up from my wife. She can hear me.
Okay, we can hear him. I have an echo in me, but I could deal with it. All right, I got you as a little echo. I think everybody else is hearing you fine. If you guys are hearing, okay, good to go, good to go. We can hear them. Awesome.
Thumbs up. Good to go. Okay, I see it. Yep.
Okay. To me, it sounds like you're in Yankee Stadium. It's got to be.
Speaking about the Zoom call.
It's got to be Yankee Stadium. All right. So anyway, our conversation for today. Well, we were just talking about our Zoom call yesterday. It was a lot of fun. We definitely have the dates now. We have the dates for our Tabernacle Celebration. It is going to be October 16th through the 23rd. We're going to have it at the Tuscarora Retreat Center. The prices will be posted probably by next week. We'll let everybody know. We still got to do some figuring in on the whole project. But
beautiful campgrounds.
Beautiful campgrounds. Going to be a lot of fun. I know people are coming from all different places, so you can definitely talk to your bosses or schedule your vacations or whatever it is that you need to do to put those dates aside. And we're going to set up an email so you can get in contact with us here, and we'll just give you a whole lots more information upcoming. But we just wanted everybody to know. We said it last night. It is a 100% done deal. We've got the place, deposits down. We are good. So that's exciting.
And I see Brother Paul is a Yankee fan. I just saw that on the comment.
I got to get him a Yankees shirt. All right. So listen, this morning, guys, what we want to talk about, and this is a conversation we've probably had. I know Brother Max and I have had before, just like in phone calls. It's just this has come up many, many times. And we thought this would be a neat conversation for today. Hopefully, honestly, I want to get my mind off just all the craziness that's going on in the world, and we're really teeter-tottering on so many things. So let's put our minds back on Yah. We want to talk about what. Now, I'm going to say it two ways because the first way is probably the way most are familiar with this term, but it's not a term that we use very often now. We try to speak in a way that is closer, more accurate, certainly to who Messiah is, the anti-Messiah, or what most people would recognize as the word Antichrist.
Mm-hmm.
Anti-Messiah, Antichrist. What is the Antichrist? Because if most of the stuff that you'll hear on, sort of prophecy teachers, and this is the accepted thing all the way across the board, from every aspect of Christendom and just about every aspect of Hebrew roots.
Yeah, I agree. You see it a lot. They're still teaching the same stuff that you hear in church.
Yeah, it's very much the same stuff that at some point there's going to be this person, this man, I guess attached to some sort of a government, perhaps Israel is what I heard. Oh, I just listened to, what's that guy's name in Texas? Him and his son.
Joel?
No. Hagee.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember his first name, but I just remember Hagee for whatever reason. Whatever the guy's name is, I heard him. I don't know why I did it. I was like, it was just really self-torture. I shouldn't have done it.
Glutton for torture, right?
Oh, yeah, just a glutton for punishment. So, I had nothing to do. I'm just, flipping around, looking at something to watch on YouTube. I really don't watch TV anymore, so I'm just, flipping around, watching on YouTube. And he comes up and says, prophecy seminar. I'm like, oh, man, should I? All right, whatever. Turn it on. I start listening to it. And I mean, just, right away, it just goes into, and a temple is about to be built. And a Jewish person, a Jewish man or a Muslim man is going to go into the temple and they're going to proclaim themselves God. And then he says, and then a Jewish person is going to shoot him in the head, and he's going to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to survive being shot in the head. And man, the more he's talking, I was waiting for my watch to start beeping.
And you gotta. And they also add in. I don't want to say it because with YouTube, but let's just say they play for the other team as well. That has to be added in.
Oh yeah.
He's not gonna desire a woman.
He's not gonna desire women. He's definitely gonna be a conservative, or no, he's definitely gonna be a liberal.
Yeah.
And the more I'm listening to it, like I said, I have expected my watch to go off again and say, "Are you okay, Pastor Dave? Your heartbeat is
160 beats a minute."
And I'm listening to it, and it's not. I don't. I'm not making fun of it just to laugh at it, but what I'm saying is, it upset me so much because I'm listening to it, and I'm hearing how it sounds. I'm like, wait a minute, what does that have to do with the story of Messiah? All right, and then of course he's going to perform these great miracles and signs. And the Jewish people are going to hail him as Messiah, and then all of Christendom is going to hail him as Messiah, and then the whole world is going to, hail him as Messiah. And I'm like, wow, wait a minute. That story, first of all, and I guess probably the most important issue out of all of this is you have to define what anti-Messiah is, because we say it's a man. We say he's the Antichrist. And of course, every political leader that ever comes is identified at some point as that's the Antichrist, right? Whether it's Clinton or Obama or the Bushes or Trump or all of them, right? There's always somebody up there that says that's the Antichrist, and it'll keep happening time after time after time. There's a guy named Victor Davis Hanson. And he's a historian. This is not a spiritual teaching or anything, but he's a historian. And I think out of California. And he's on Fox every now and then, but I saw a different interview with him. Tremendous. This man is so knowledgeable as far as history goes and applying history to where we are. And it wasn't a spiritual conversation that he was having. It was purely a political conversation. But what he was saying was this idea that there is going to be some single leader that will lead the whole world, that the whole world will come under this umbrella. And he's talking about the whole globalist agenda. This idea that everything's going to come under this one, that it could come under one person. He goes on to say it's utter nonsense. He says because of nation states, and they tried to do this with the United Nations. They tried to do it with the League of Nations. They try to do it now. They're trying to do it with the I don't even have to say the word.
TikTok.
Technocracy. No, not TikTok. Technocracies. This whole idea, and of course that is the spiritual idea too that a lot of people have, that one guy is going to come out and rule everybody. And he says that the problem, he says people have been, wanting to do this forever, right? Since there's been man on the planet. And what he says is the problem is we're nation states. And unless you get everybody in the world, 100% aligned, he says, which is impossible to do. It's impossible to do. All you need is one state, one nation state that has power that says, no, we're not going to do it. Mm-hmm. And he just talked about the unlikelihood of there being this at least one person in charge of everything. Nonetheless, even global companies, even though they run a lot, he says that we're nation states, and nation states are not going to give up their own sovereignty. That's just the way man is. And I thought it was interesting because that really sort of flies in the face of a lot of the religious thinking that we're moving towards this one entity. And I'm sure,
you see it right in our country. Look at how divided we are now. Just over, I don't even want to mention those things. Everyone knows what we're talking about. So if you can't even unite one country, right? How are you going to do that to a whole globe? To the whole world?
Yeah, and even if there's some charismatic individual that does some what is perceived by many to be a good thing, you're always going to have a large portion of the people that are going to say, no, I don't care. Mm-hmm. That's not right. We've just gone through this as a culture. There's things that people perceived as a good thing, and then there's the group that perceive, well, no, that's not exactly a good thing. So it's hard. And I just thought, so if you guys want to check out Victor Davis Hanson, he does a lot of seminars and stuff. He's just a really, really good, solid historian. And I should maybe see if I can find the thing and put it in the link later on for you guys to check him out. But anyway, so Antichrist. So that's kind of the general concept of it, that there's going to be an individual. And then the whole, of course, attached to it is the mark of the beast. And mm-hmm. I saw a, how they do on Telegram and some of these other things. They do like these surveys now where you can go on. And there was a survey on there of how many people believe that the current COVID shot or shots are the mark of the beast. And amazingly, it was like 96% of all the people that responded to this believed that the COVID vaccine is, in fact, the mark of the beast. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, my goodness, Satan is so good at diversion. He really is. He's so good at diversion. So what we want to try to do is try to explain this from a biblical, but also a historical perspective of what anti-Messiah actually is. And does it become a person? No, it becomes a religion, a way of thinking. That is what becomes anti-Messiah or antichrist. It is a way of thinking. And even the word is kind of deceptive because we're saying it in English, right? So people say antichrist. We say anti-Messiah, anti-Mashiach. And anti in English means against. So if I'm anti whatever, I'm against that thing. And that's movement, that's how many project that, this anti-Christ to be, or anti-Messiah. When actually what anti means is in place of. Mm-hmm. that this thinking, this belief replaces the truth of who Messiah actually is. And what we're going to find out is actually keeps some of what Messiah really is, but has changed it and added to it and made it so unrecognizable to the truth that you could say it's Messiah, and you could have some truth in it, but it's not really the Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it's called the spirit of Antichrist, because that's how we read it actually in 1 John, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the spirit of anti-Messiah. And he tells us the spirit of anti-Messiah was there in his day.
Mm-hmm.
So just as a definition, what anti actually means, in place of. I'm sorry, bro, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was just going to say what you just said.
All right, let's look at some scriptures. I want to go to, and these are some obvious ones. Anybody that's been reading their Bible, you guys know these scriptures. You've gone over them before. We do have some neat information to share with you, but this should be familiar to a whole lot of people. Here is the book of 1 John, and chapter 2 is kind of where the conversation starts of the anti-Messiah, and around verse 18. Now, let me give you some background here, because there is the Christian view, the historical cataloging of events from a Gentile church perspective. And if you go to any Bible college, Bible school, online courses, all that kind of stuff, what you will inevitably learn is that what John is talking about in 1 John, 2 John, 3 John, is that he's referring to Gnosticism.
Mm-hmm.
And Gnosticism was an issue, and I would definitely label it as an anti-Messiah philosophy. But the reason the church world holds that view is because, and Gnosticism does come around, at the latter end of the first century, really into the second century and third century, and if you believe, which a lot of scholars, I'm talking Christian scholars, say, well, for it to be Gnosticism, this book has to be written after the fall of Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there's many that date this as, no, this book was written by John before the fall of Jerusalem. And I think that makes a lot more sense. Just like the book of Revelation. I don't think the book of Revelation was written in 90 AD, where you hear most Bible colleges say it was written in 90 AD. I think it was, and there's other scholars that say, no, it was written around 65 AD. That makes more sense to me, because the whole book is about what is about to happen. What's about to happen. Yeah,
that's why he specifies it was for the bondservant, remember?
It's for the bondservant, but he also tells them it's near, it's close, it's at hand, I'm at the door. We take those things as meaning sort of the end of the age, when I really believe what he's telling them, no, it's 65 AD. This stuff is coming in like 5 years. Get right. Here's the story, so you can understand it. And I think what John, 1 John, 2 John, 3 John, and not just, or all the New Testament, is really speaking to is before the destruction of Jerusalem. And I don't think that John is talking solely, at least not solely, about Gnosticism. Honestly, I don't even think he's talking about Gnosticism, to be honest with you. I don't think he's talking about Gnosticism at all. I think he's talking about what all the rest of the book has been talking about. Mm-hmm. He's talking about the priests. He's talking about the Pharisees. He's talking about the Sadducees. He's talking about people going back, those that were with us, that were of us, that they
came from among us.
Yeah, I forgot how he words it. So that's a little bit. That's sort of my take on it. Because depending upon what view of history you look at, see, if the church world just looks at it as Gnosticism, this idea, this crazy idea of the secret knowledge, okay, that happened. I can't say that didn't happen. That did happen, but I don't think that's what John is talking about.
Yeah, especially when we open up with that and we see, like you said, the wordage he uses, they were from among us. Were the Gnostics amongst them? No.
Yeah, no. Even when he says that they were among us, well, who's John talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Jews. Yep. He's talking about Jews that were with him.
He also said
believers
they were
that
from
were
us,
with
right? I
him.
think we'll see it. I think in a minute, when we open that up.
Yeah. So anyway, so different mindsets. So we're looking at this thinking before 70 AD, as far as the writing of the book, and it's dealing with, and that's the other thing. If it's dealing with Gnosticism, then that's outside of everything else that every other writer, including, Yeshua, though he's not a writer, but a speaker, but every other topic that is given to us in the Bible is about the man-made religion of Judaism, of the Pharisees, of the Sadducees. That's what the story has been about, the temple, all along. And now all of a sudden, it's about a church issue. No, I think it's about the same issue that was there, and he's explaining it to those first century people because they're dealing with it. Because he tells them the spirit of anti-Messiah is right here with us. So let's read some of these verses.
And real fast, like we see every Wednesday, right? It all goes right back to the book of Hebrews because it's a warning, right, to the Hebrews. We're not going to have the temple. We're not going to have the priesthood, but fear not, we have Yeshua Messiah, our high priest. So
I really wonder about the dating of the book of Hebrews too, because I think it's all either pre or maybe just after. And honestly, I would think it would be pre because after the destruction of the temple, man, Jews are on the run all over the world, all over the known world. And so are the Netzarim. And of course, they find a place of hiding for what seems to be 3.5 years in the mountains of Jordan. But, Jews are being arrested everywhere. This isn't just, it wasn't just Jerusalem. It was all over Israel. It was all over. That's why there's trouble. That's, the whole taking the Jews and the Netzarim, who are Jews for all intents and purposes, and putting them in the arena and killing them in slavery and all the rest of that craziness that went on. So, it would be difficult for me to believe that this letter of Hebrews, now written to a synagogue, is after all of these events. Because if it was after all these events, don't you think they would have said, yeah, it's destroyed, it's gone, it's not here. But this is, so I think it might be just pre, maybe just before. But we'll find out when we actually get to the master. We can ask him the true dates. Because at this point, bro, everything's suspect to me. Right, everything that I've learned, everything that we've read, it's all suspect. You got to look at it and really ask Father to give you discernment, to give you true discernment. So here's 1 John, and this is, we're going to start at verse 18. And I want you to notice, guys, look at what he says here. Little children, and let me just do this here. It says, little children, it is the last hour. Wait a second. What does that mean? Because our definition of the last hour today would be, the last, from a modern sort of prophetic way of looking at things, the last hour would be the last 3.5 years, right? Or the last 7 years, or whatever version of that there is. Pre, mid, post, trib, all of that kind of stuff. That we would call the last hour. But that's not what John says. He is saying right here, right now is the last hour. Well, what last hour is it? Well, he tells us, as you have heard, anti-Messiah is coming. This brings us right back to the conversation Yeshua has with them in Matthew 24. When he tells them the end is coming. They ask, when is going to be the end? But it's not the end of the world they're talking about. It's the end of Jerusalem. It's the end of the temple. And they all knew this was coming, right? They knew that all the apostles knew this is where we were headed, that judgment was coming, the day of Yah was coming. And remember, we said the day of Yah is a coming of Messiah, or a coming of Elohim, not to split the sky, but to come in vengeance, to come in judgment. And Messiah told them in Matthew 24 that, yeah, they're going to persecute. You're going to go through all sorts of tribulation, wars, rumors of wars. Going to be years of all this political, military conflict going on in Jerusalem, around Jerusalem. And he tells them quite explicitly, other people are going to come claiming to be me, in place of me, claiming to be a Messiah. And he talks about even perhaps the elect being fooled by this. And he doesn't mean us at the end of the time, end of the days, or the end of everything before the seventh day, being fooled by an individual who's claiming, to be Messiah. He's talking to the Jewish people who are looking for Messiah and have historically had people come up and say, we're Messiah, and they raised an army out in the wilderness, and then that army came in and it was destroyed by Rome. Another group did it in the temple, in the secret places, and they formed a group. It was a group of zealots, and that guy was an anti-Messiah, and that's why Yeshua says, if they tell you I'm out in the desert, don't believe it, because what were they doing in the desert? They were staging an army. A guy who was claiming to be Messiah was getting an army together, a militia together, to fight the Romans. He says, don't believe, because that was their expectation of Messiah. But that would have been in place of the real Messiah. That's not the truth. So this is what he's warning us about here. He's talking about it is the days Messiah was telling us about. And there are anti-Messiahs, people who are trying to be in place of Messiah. And that winds up happening all the way up to the end of, Jerusalem, up to, almost 300 years later, finally, with Simon Bar Kokhba, the final Messiah, right? Even after that, there's been Messiahs in Judaism. But that's the final straw for Jerusalem. It gets destroyed. It gets wiped out after that. Another almost 1 million people die in that revolt. So this is what he's talking about. Not our particular time. He's talking about their time. And it goes hand in hand with what Yeshua said in the Gospel of Matthew. Messiahs are coming, or people who are going to claim to be me. But it's not going to be his teaching. It's not going to be what he did. It's not going to be him. So I think that's what he's talking. And it goes on. It says, and as you have heard, the anti-Messiah is coming. And again, that's English. The and I guess in one sense there is the anti-Messiah, the lawless one who will come, but that's we're getting ahead of ourselves. And he goes on to say, but even now, many anti-Messiahs have come. How many guys claim to be Messiah? When I forgot what chapter it is in Acts. I showed it a couple of weeks ago with Gamaliel. When the apostles are they're flogged, beaten, thrown in jail for the night, and Gamaliel steps up and because they're ready to kill these guys. Of course, that's like the the standard for the priest. We don't like what you got to say, we're going to kill you, and of course, how many others came? So this is what's being spoken about here. This is the context here. Some other guy claiming the properties, the name, the title, the mission of the true Messiah, but it's not. It's twisted, it's turned, it's bent. Anyway, so even now, anti-Messiahs have come, and he tells us, and this is how we know it's the last hour. Why? Because that's what Yeshua said in Matthew 24. That's what he said. So the last hour he's talking about is prior to the destruction of Jerusalem. And that, this is, so I started with this verse because this sort of makes the case of what I was saying, if you understand what he's actually talking about. And again, you can find it in other places. This is almost verbatim what Yeshua says in Matthew 24. And so here it is. He gives us a little bit more information. They went out from us, but they were not of us. If they had been of us, they would have stayed with us. But in order that it might be made manifest that none of them were of us, And then in you having an anointing and set apart one, you know all. So let's stop right here and look at this verse 19. He says of the anti-messiahs that are in his generation, that are around him. He says they were of us. Now, you can speculate: is he talking about that they were Netzarim, that they were actually believers, and they began preaching a different Messiah? Because we're warned about that both in this book and also in by Saul. If any comes to you and doesn't preach this gospel, and that was and who was doing that? Who could have been of them? Let's say they listened to the message at first. They heard it. I'm just saying this is a possibility. They heard the message. They were with them, right? They're fellowshipping, and the Pharisees come up from Jerusalem. What happens with Peter when the Pharisees come up from Jerusalem and they're in Galatia? What does Peter do? Peter steps back and goes back into the traditions, right? So is he? And Paul calls him out on it. So is he? Go ahead. Can't hear Max again. Not good. All right, let's see if this makes a difference. Go ahead. Hopefully.
Testing.
Guys,
1,
can
2,
you hear Brother
3.
Max?
Just give a thumbs up if you can hear me.
Hopefully. You know what? I think I'll just have to stay on this tile. If everybody can hear you, we'll stay on this tile, and we'll just read through the scriptures. Guys, give us a notice on the chat if you guys can hear Brother Max. We'll just have to wait for that.
Testing. Anyone hear me?
Yeah, give them a second. It'll take people a second to the lag time on the broadcast. But in the interim, hopefully that fixes it. But in the interim, okay, good. Got thumbs up. We'll stay on this tile, and hopefully that will fix the audio issues. So back to what we were saying. So they went out from us. They're not of us. If they had been of us, so if they were with them, could it be that he's referring to a situation like Peter had, where the pressure from the religious sects of the day was just too much, right? It was too much to lose mother and father. We talked about that a little bit about that last night, right? It was too much to lose your whole social livelihood. It was just too much for them, and they went back. That's one possibility. Or I think the second possibility here is that he's talking about the Jews. In particular, I think he's talking about the priests, the Pharisees. They were Jews. They were of us. They were part of the house of Israel, right? Yep. They were counted as the leadership, the ones who should have been running the kingdom. They were of us. They were with us, but they're not of us anymore. And look at what they've done to Messiah. And look at what they're doing to us. So I think you could, I don't want to use the word safely, but logically put either one of those, or a combination thereof, for all we know, right? Could be a combination of the two things. Doesn't have to be one, either or, but it could be a combination of them. So, and I tend to think, it is my personal opinion, and I'll show why as we go through this a little bit more. I tend to think he's talking about the priests. I think he's talking about the Pharisees. I think he's talking about the leaders in the synagogues. I think he's talking about all of that as those who were of us and who have gone their way.
I agree.
And the issue here, because if you look at verses 20 and 21, he says, "And you have an anointing from the set apart Spirit, and you know all. I did not write to you because you do not know the truth, but because you know it, and because no falsehood is of the truth." Well, who are the people that are teaching a falsehood? Scribes, right? The priests.
And even go into 22.
Yeah, and all right, go right into the next verse. This is 22. You guys, hopefully you guys are following along on your Bibles. I'm sorry, I don't want to put that screen up because I think somehow that lost his audio, and I don't want to do that again. So we're on verse 22 of 1 John chapter 2, and we just read 21 and 22. 21, and I think makes the case because he's telling them, you know the truth. Well, what's the truth? The truth is Yeshua is Elohim in the flesh. Right? That's the truth. Elohim died for us. That's the truth. Yeshua is Elohim in the flesh. Well,
Yep.
that's definitely not what the Pharisees accepted, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not what the scribes are accepting. As you
Nope.
read through the book of Acts, that's not what the people in the synagogues, a large portion of Judaism was accepting. So I think that's the conflict he's talking about. And he's telling them, you guys do know the truth, right? You guys get this. And verse 22 then goes on to say, who is the liar except the one denying that Yeshua is the Messiah? Well, who did that?
Yep.
Right? I mean, who did that? The Pharisees, the Sadducees, the scribes, the chief priests. They did that. The leaders of the synagogues, the presidents of the synagogues, they did that. They were of them. They were of the people of God. They were of the house of Israel, and now their branch has been cut off.
That's right.
Right? I think this goes right back into what Paul is talking about. You know, the branches being broken off, and can they be grafted back in? Sure, they can.
Sure. Scripture says so. Yeah.
What do they have to
And that's
understand?
actually a warning for us, right? Those that are grafted in, that we could be taken out again too, just like they were.
And what's the issue? And this is real important, guys. What's the issue? I'm going to put it here one more time. Who is a liar except one denying that Yeshua is the Messiah? This is the anti-Messiah, the one denying the Father and Son, the one denying that the Father and Son are one.
That's right.
Echad.
And unfortunately, it's not just Christendom. Even
No.
in the Hebraic roots movement, if that's really what we want to put a title on it, you see a large group of people who just think Yeshua was just a prophet, or just he was it wasn't Yeshua till he was born of Mary. He never existed before that. That's the spirit of the anti-Messiah even today that we have amongst us.
Yeah, it's
in the
here.
group.
It's here. See, there's I think there's two things at work here. There's the spirit of anti-Messiah, right? That is what John is talking about. And then later on in Revelation, it tells us about a false religion that is started by the beast. And it looks like Messiah. It acts like Messiah. It has an idol that's built to it. But it's an idol to the beast, really, to the ones who conquered Jerusalem. And out of that idol, an entire religion is birthed. And out of that religion, that's where the mark comes from, and the whole world gets sucked into that. That is also the anti-Messiah spirit. It's creating a different, it's taking some of the pieces of truth of who Messiah should be, and then changing it with all sorts of other man-made ideas and concepts and religions, which is not that much different than what the Pharisees were doing, what the scribes were doing, but that hadn't come yet.
Exactly.
Right? That in the timeline of history, that hadn't come yet. That's not what John's talking about. He's not talking about, the great lie to come. He's not talking about the great deception to come that's going to deceive the whole world, the mark and the name and all the rest of that. He's talking about what was going on right there in his day. So
it keeps on going, man, right through 23 too.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the next one. So 22, one more time. It says, who is the liar except the one denying that Yeshua is the Messiah? This is the anti-Messiah, the one denying the Father and the Son. So if you do not recognize that you know what, you said it really, really neat the other day. You were looking at what's that dear brother with the Aleph Tav scriptures? I can't think of his name.
William. Oh my goodness.
Bill
Sanford.
Sanford. Yeah, I love that guy. I love that guy.
Yes.
He really kind of opened my eyes up to looking at things differently, and because really kind of sent me on some of the journey that I'm on right now. But you described something in the Aleph Tav scriptures that you only see in the Aleph Tav. You know, it's
yes.
the Aleph Tav Passover. It's that creation is through the Aleph Tav for the Aleph Tav. Right? And that Aleph Tav, of course, is the beginning and the ending.
Yeah, it was for the last week's Torah portion. Brother Paul even sent it to me to check it out. And it shows that Yeshua is the Elohim of Mount Sinai, just through the Aleph Tavs. You know, it's pretty wild. So it's definitely, I encourage anyone that, you know, if they want to look into the Aleph Tavs, he does have a translation that he took. I think it was like 12 years of work he put into it, something like that.
Yeah. I mention that because in that Aleph Tav version, you clearly see, because every time the Aleph Tav is mentioned, we are talking about the eternal Son. And you realize as you read the Aleph Tav version, everything belongs to the eternal Son. Everything was done for the eternal Son. The Father gave it, did it, said it, but everything was done in and through the eternal Aleph Tav, the Son. So if you and this is again, this comes right out of the gospel accounts. When you read the epistles, you cannot separate them from the words of Yeshua.
And that's why Paul even puts it was either in Colossians or Philippians, right? That everything was made for him and through him, which is just what John said also, you know?
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
Yeah. Everything was made by him, for him, through him, exactly. Which is right. So this to deny the Father is to deny the Son, and vice versa. And really, what he's saying here is not that they're denying the Father, they're denying the Son.
And if you deny him, you don't have the Father.
And if you deny him, but John's not telling us anything new, right? Those are the exact words Yeshua says. Just sort of off the top of my head, John 5, I think it is, that he goes through all of this, where he says that you need to honor the Son just as you honor the Father. And if you don't have the Son, then you don't have the Father. And you may believe in a Messiah and one of your own making and creating, but that religion will be in place of the actual Messiah. It will, or that philosophy, that understanding will be in place of the anti-Messiah. So I think that's what he's talking about here, and he tells us this is anti-Messiah, the one denying the Father and the Son. It doesn't get any more clear than that.
In the book of John, too, people have to remember this. It verifies it, because when Yeshua, you know, when the claim for him to be the Son of Yah, what did they want to do? They wanted to stone him. They wanted to kill him, because they knew it's not just how we think in our head, the Messiah. Oh, he's the Lord. No, he's saying, I am Elohim. Me and the Father are one. And they knew exactly what that was. And unfortunately, through the eyes of the Pharisees, you know, they didn't have the faith to believe it, but they wanted to kill him. And that's still amongst believers that say they follow Torah, and it's still the same spirit. And it's that's like that one thing, that thorn that I just can't get over, man. I see it all the time in people and their posts, but it's still around us, and it's so sad. But go ahead, brother. I digress.
No. You're right on point here. And I say this all the time. You see us do this in the studies. You got to have correct definitions, right? You got to understand what's being said, and once the definition is given, then that definition remains all the way through. That's the consistency of the scriptures, right? There was a time we did not really know what sin was, right? We just thought it was just me doing things that get me in trouble, get me bad, and I can be forgiven, so now I can do them without having to worry about them. That's not sin. That's not repentance. We need accurate definitions in order to truly understand what it is we're supposed to be doing, what the expectation of Father is on us, and in like manner, we need a correct definition of what anti-Messiah actually is. He's not describing it just as one individual here. He's describing it as the spirit of anti-Messiah is to somehow, in some way, separate the Father and the Son. That they are different. And certainly Gnosticism also did that, right? Gnosticism does this when it does come around, because the whole concept of Gnosticism, and it's actually a Greco-Roman philosophy that was around a long, long time. And then it kind of gets plugged into by the Gentiles, gets plugged into their concept of things. And the whole idea that humanity was made by lesser gods, I forgot what they were called, Demiurge or Demiurge or something like that, and that Yeshua is an emissary of those lesser gods, and he had some secret knowledge that can then be passed on to us, but it was that knowledge that allowed for redemption. Yeah, that's an anti-Messiah, because that's you're denying the Father. You're denying the Father because you're denying the Son. You're denying the Aleph Tav. You're denying the connectivity. The Shema is really what you're denying. You're denying the Shema, and so yes, that is anti-Messiah. But in the big scheme of things, the first and the initial anti-Messiah comes out of Jerusalem, and then maybe Gnosticism and whatever other isms come along later. They're anti-messiahs. They're smaller, but there's another one coming at the time of the destruction of the temple, and will carry on throughout history, that not only is anti-messiah, but we are told in Revelation will build a global religion off of anti-messiah. And I think that's kind of where we get confused, because when it talks about the beast at the end of Revelation, he will be thrown into the lake of fire. It talks about the false prophet. He will be thrown into the lake of fire. And then all the people that followed them, not at the last 3.5 years, he's talking about throughout history, have followed this entity. It's not a guy. We're not talking about a guy here.
Nope.
We're not talking about an individual. We're talking about lots of individuals. We're talking about nation states. We're talking about quote unquote shepherds, prophets, and then all the followers of it. So that's the furthest expression of anti-Messiah. But if you don't get the definition here, then we sort of get into all of this other stuff. And so the definition is important. How can you tell someone, and I'm not talking about, because we got to be careful with this. We're not, there is a difference between not understanding and then being instructed and then understanding.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Yep.
All of us have gone through that process. This is talking about someone who plants their feet in this. And despite good instruction. And you know what? I think this really needs to be mentioned. We all need to be pliable, right? We all need to be able to receive correction and to reevaluate from time to time to time. Who was it? Was it Ananias and Sapphira?
What about when Paul in Acts, when he tells him the truth and he says, "What, have I offended you now?" Right?
Yeah.
We need to take instruction, especially when it's Yah's word, man. If we claim to walk like Messiah and do as he does, we need to follow what the word says, right? So, and of course, there's delivery methods to do it, but we need to be able to take that and learn and go on from there.
I think it was Ananias and Sapphira. You guys could look this up for me, guys, in the chat room. I forgot where it is, but and I forgot who they come upon that is as preaching in a synagogue, and he's preaching Messiah, right? He's telling them, and then afterward it says that Ananias and not Ananias and Sapphira. I got the wrong names. Ananias and Sapphira are the ones that wind up, the whole offering thing. I can't think of who it is. Somebody can help me out with this. But anyway, they tell him, let us teach you the gospel more accurately. And I'm drawing a blank there. If you guys can help me out, I would appreciate that. But I mention that because the individual who was preaching was willing to listen to the husband and wife team. That's who they are, the husband and wife team. For whatever reason, I just cannot think of their name. He was willing to listen to them, and when he tells them, or when they tell him, let us teach you the gospel more accurately, meaning he didn't know it all. And he wasn't doing it 100%, but he was willing to learn. And we all need to be willing to learn, be willing to reevaluate and be seekers of truth. Ultimately, that's what we have to be, seekers of truth. And sometimes you realize what I thought was incorrect, and you got to be willing to say, okay, all right, Father, show me.
That's right.
So,
hey, bro, for time's sake, I know that goes through the whole rest of the whole book. You know, it's obviously there's no chapter verse. It's all one theme here. But I wanted to skip over, if we could, because it's really important, in chapter 5. Because if you want to read on, obviously the whole first John is speaking about this through chapter 4. But 1 John 5, I think, really brings into conclusion, what we're trying to bring across today. If you start in verse 11, chapter 5.
Yeah, let me just get there.
Yeah, because it's already 10:52.
Yep. All right, what verses?
11 through 13, and then shoot down to verse 20.
Yeah, and you're right. Oh, Priscilla, Aquila, thank you.
Yes.
Sister Karen. Shout out to Sister Karen. Aquila and Priscilla. And who was the one? Here's a trivia question. Who was the one they instructed? Is his name given? That'd be a good one. That'd be a good one. I wanted to know that one. I'm not going to forget that now. Okay. Verse 11, 1 John 5 says, and this is the witness, that Elohim has given us everlasting life, and this life is in his Son. He who possesses the Son possesses life. He who does not possess the Son of Elohim does not possess life. Why? Because if you don't have the Son,
you don't have the Father. Yep.
You don't have the Father.
13.
I have written this to you, that you who believe in the name of the Son of Elohim, so that, excuse me, I said that wrong. I have written this to you who believe in the name of the Son of Elohim, so that you possess everlasting life, and that you believe in the name of the Son of Elohim. And you said
down to 20.
Down to verse 20. It says, and we know that the Son of Elohim has come and has given us an understanding, so that we might be the true one.
We might know the true one, right?
So we might know, excuse me, thank you, brother, so that we might know the true one. Thank you for that correction, Priscilla, or Aquila. I don't know which one's a guy, which one's a girl. Right? It's hard. It's tough there. If you just read that, I'm thinking Aquila.
They're from Manila, too. I'm sorry.
Oh, man. That's
verse 20 over again.
That's just kind of Scylla, man. Silly. Anyway.
Can we eat breakfast so I can be full of?
And we know that the Son of Elohim has come and has given us an understanding, so that we might know the true one. Mm-hmm. And we are in the true one, in his Son, Yeshua Messiah. This is the true Elohim and everlasting life. And actually, this, and we don't have time to really delve into this, but what he's saying here is actually a throwback. Apollos, thank you. This is Sister Joanna came up with the name. This is actually a throwback. This verse that we're just talking about in verse 20 is a throwback to the prayer that Messiah does in John chapter 10, when he's telling them, I am I and the Father one, make them one with us. This is what he's referring to understand that. The whole obedience thing, what the Father says, the Son does, what the Father says, we do, we are one with them, and that concept. So that's what he's talking about. There's a couple of other verses.
I love the sum of that, though, that this is the true Elohim and everlasting life, right?
Yep. 1 John chapter 4 gives us a little bit more about
1 through 3. Yep.
And we'll read them out. We don't have time to really delve into it. So 1 John chapter 4 verses 1 through 3, just more stuff about the anti-Messiah spirit. So really, it's a spirit.
Jump down sorry to cut you off, buddy. Also chapter 4, 9 through 15. So if you want to read that today too, that's also some good nuggets in there.
And one more that we won't be able to get to would be 2 John chapter 1 and verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody just wrote up the common use for how we come across with the idea of who Messiah is. Brother Bill just posted, and he's absolutely right. That Antichrist is an individual comes out of 2 Thessalonians when he talks about the lawless one. We'll get there. We'll definitely talk about it. We don't have time to talk about it today. But in the book of Thessalonians, we're going to get there. And when you understand the history, you'll understand exactly what he's talking about. But because most don't understand the history, that's why we've sort of come up with the themes that we've come up with now. But good catch. Good catch. That's definitely where it comes from. We'll get there. There's all sorts of interesting stuff going on in the chat. Beloved ones, do not believe every spirit, but prove the spirits whether they are of Elohim, because many false prophets have gone out into this world. By this we know the spirit of Elohim. Every spirit that confesses that Yeshua Messiah, the Aleph Tav, has come in the flesh, is of Elohim. Do you remember?
Sure.
You're right. You know, what I was going to say. Go ahead, you go for it.
It was the litmus test.
The test.
The church's Deuteronomy 13.
Yes.
If anyone could say that Jesus is Lord, they're straight. So if you think they're possessed, or you think they're just cuckoo, but yet they can still say that from their lips, they're good, right? That's the test, right? That they can utter those words.
And it comes right off of the scripture, but this isn't saying if you can say Yeshua is Lord.
Yeah.
You can just say it, and it's reinforced in all the movies, right? And all the demonic possession movies.
The Exorcist, all those kind of things, right?
Yeah. The cross compels you. All that kind of craziness, right? And if they even say He is Lord, they can't say
Jesus.
it. Yeah, they just. That's not what this is saying. That's not what this means.
I know.
He's saying if you don't understand He is the God of Mount Sinai that came in the flesh, you're missing the whole story. And it's not that you can't learn. It's not that you can't, understand if you're open and willing to understand. But
let's remember. Well, what did Yeshua do, man? He shut the mouth of the demons. When they saw Him, they knew exactly who He was, and He was like, shh,
there was no guessing. Yeah, there was no guessing. No,
they knew.
But I remember. Listen, I remember. People saying, "Well, if you can say He is Lord, then you're good." That's not the Deuteronomy test, right? That's not Deuteronomy 13. Yep. And Deuteronomy 13 falls in line with this in testing every spirit. But in this particular sense, again, it's just another emphasis of the denial that it is the God of Mount Sinai who came in the flesh. That really is the most important thing. And every spirit that does not confess that Yeshua Messiah has come in the flesh is not of Elohim. And this is the spirit of anti-Messiah, which you heard is coming and now is already in the world. Already in the world. All right, so 10:59. I'll give you the last word on that, brother. Some neat conversations going on the live chat. Some good stuff. Yeah,
just if anyone wants to do it today for just some I said Sabbath reading. Aside from the Torah portion, go through it, man. Go through like we said, John chapter 4, 1 John chapter 5, even for 2 John 1, 7 through 11 or 7 through 10. Some great stuff in there because he explains what it is. It's with eyes to see. You can see it. So I encourage you to read it on your own. Don't take our word for it, right? But we love you guys. And again, I wanted to just encourage everyone who's thinking about tabernacles to get in touch with us so we can fellowship together. I love everyone, and have a good Sabbath, man.
Amen. Amen to that. We're going to be having our get-together this upcoming, not this summer, not this weekend, the following weekend. And 27th. What we'd like to do, and hopefully we can work this out, is when we take the Lord's Supper that day, that hopefully via, Skype or however we do it, Zoom, this is all PM's area, that maybe we can have as many of our LMC family from all over the country. Maybe you guys can join us. Maybe there's a way we can have you guys join us and get bread together. But we'll let you know by Wednesday. We'll put it out in a notification Wednesday, Thursday, whatever the information is. We'd love for you to be able to join us and take Lord's Supper with us. We're going to do it around a meal, which is the way I believe Yeshua instructed us to do it. But we'd sure love to have everybody with us that can be there. I think that'd be fun. So,
and whoever wasn't on last night, just a quick reminder, our next Zoom call is March 18th.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you, brother. All right, man. Peace.
Love you, buddy.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I did. There's so much more, honestly, to talk about, but at least it gives us the definition, right? It gives us the base, and then you go on from there. But all the commercials we just said, join us tomorrow morning for our weekend message, and we will get information out to you soon about Tabernacles. Solid. The dates are solid, 16th to the 23rd. That's absolute. You can start working on that. But more information coming, as well as Passovers coming up real soon, too. We'll give you information about that as well. Guys, have a great Sabbath today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Don't forget, if you're not subscribed, please do that. Hit that red button and hit the bell for notifications. Other than that, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful day today. God bless and Shabbat Shalom.